Hi. Was Florida and the southeast portion of the United States inhabited by a group of Iranian kings that were leaving early Iberia and settling in this area for possibly thousands of years, up until a reset in our system here where several countries got involved and tossed these people out and then scrubbed them from the history books? There's a lot of the architecture that's destroyed through wars and things, a blatant attempt to erase this portion of history that was probably a golden age. Well, today we're going to present some proof in the architecture that these people were here. And as we go along in the study of Iberia, of the Urantia books, the Bible, the scriptures of all different nationalities, books of explorers that came to Florida, and by just going out and doing some boots on the ground work and looking for the evidence that's hidden in plain sight. Yeah, I think that we can make a definitive case in favor of this very subject. So the first thing I want to talk about is some of my proof, okay? Because we are bringing forth a theory, right? And anybody that's following along in these theories too, I welcome your input, because you know it's going to take all of us to put all these pieces together so we can turn this world around. Because I'm here for the universe, and we all have to work together. We have to work together. We have to better humanity. And we have to figure out where we went wrong in the past and not do it again, right? So my first bit of proof is a town that is right by me. And I say that I'm really lucky to be living here, because this place in Florida that I live is a very special place. And I'm not saying that because I'm proud of myself or anything. I'm just saying that because it's coincidentally it is. And there's a reason that all of these robber barons and these people were rushing to Florida, and they were here looking for stuff, and they got houses on all of these areas, and they built nature preserves and big gated communities and huge fabulous golf courses, right? There's a reason that these people did that. It's because they got rich taking all these people's stuff. All this society stuff. This was all stuff that belonged to society. Everybody was equal. There wasn't, oh, I hate you because you're this color and you hate me because I believe God is this. It wasn't like that. This Iberian group of people, they went from shades of dark to light. It was a whole amalgamation of culture from the entire Mediterranean basin. We had people from Africa and Germany and France and Rome and Greece and Spain and Portugal, and we had all blended Celts. And the Celts are turning out to be just older and older and older and older, you know? And we're finding out about this spiritual upgrade that happened, that God gave us a spiritual upgrade. He had Michael gave us this upgrade 4,000 years ago. In the Celtic tribe, it was introduced, but we had a 38,000 year ago spiritual upgrade. And that was when Adam and Eve were born. Adam and Eve. So one of the very old religions is called Zoroastrianism, and it was brought back. It's one of the very first religions, actually, but the last video I did on part 2 about the Mirian Kings, I go into it about this Maccabean order of Michael the Archangel. He has several groups, and they all start with like Mac or Michael, or you know, and they're his groups. They were in a bunch of different countries, and they have filtered in to the Catholic religion, because you have Iranian Catholics, And see, these Catholic churches were here. These are why some of these Catholic churches were destroyed and others were not. Because you weren't the right kind of Catholic. You weren't the right kind. If you were one of these Iranian Catholics that came from Iberia, your shit was getting burned up. It was a wave of arson that came through Florida several different times and destroyed old world buildings. And took over, and we've got all this mining that happens in Florida. Because, you know, these Iberian people, they were miners. And they loved their metal, and they did beautiful metalworks. And the Phoenicians, and in this group of people that were in the northern portion of Africa, these people were all exceptional metalworkers. And so, you know, the big industry at the time was like tin. You know, these tin mines, they had tons of old tin mines. But the thing in our country was salt. That's why you had groups of people that were living like in Utah and Colorado. You have that big salt lake. But the other reason is you have all of these Greek cities that are on the coastlines. Even on California, there's a lot of cities that have Greek names. It's because there were estuaries there. And they got a special kind of salt from estuaries that had 96 trace minerals in it. They were mining their vitamins for their vitality. They knew what they were doing. They weren't dumb. This Zoroastrianism will just reaffirm what I'm talking about, the level of intelligence that these people had at the time. Because the rituals and the things that they were doing for purification in this are so intense that if you're not familiar with sacred geometry and Pythagorean theorems and things like that, you would think that these people were totally OCD'd out on numbers, counting, ritual counting, doing things numbers of times, specific numbers of times for classifications. I'll read through some of it, but it's so intense that it would take me an hour to read just how they purified the fire. Okay, so I want you to look at this image that's right here, and I'll put it up so you can see it, because this is their holy fire in this religion. In this Zoroastrianism, we'll just call it the Zoro religion. This Zoro religion, they had this goblet of fire, like Harry Potter, right? The goblet of fire. They had this goblet of fire right here, and this goblet of fire was kept in a temple. And the interesting thing about this fire is that they had a ritual behind combining fires and then only lighting fires from this fire. Okay. Now, if you remember, they say that Prometheus brought us fire, that he stole the fire from Zeus and gave it to man, right? Well, there's always so much more to a myth than just what they say. So yeah, there is something sacred about fire because, you know, after we had these cataclysms, people were cold and they had no fire. And so when the fire came down, I'm sure they were pretty freaking happy that they want to make sure that it didn't ever go out, right? Because that was a second chance at life when we got that fire after the ice age hit us and almost everybody in the whole planet was wiped out. Like 5,000 people survived. It was really bad, really, really bad. So the Zoroastrianism, they have these very strict rules about how they light this Atash Behram. And it's called the fire of victory. And I guess you would be victorious when you got this fire, right? And I would say, yeah, if you look back in antiquity, the stories about how we got fire and how fire resurfaced after a terrible cataclysm that almost annihilated the entire planet, I'm sure it was the fire of victory. I mean, really, literally. So they kept it in a fire temple as an eternal flame. And so I wanted to show this depiction here because at St. Anne's Shrine, you have this depiction. Now check this out. Doesn't that look like the same thing? Yes. And then you have the bleeding heart. Jesus' bleeding heart. Well, that's a Catholic order, right? So is that the secret Catholic order of Michael? Archangel Michael, is it? I think it could possibly be. And that's why St. Anne's Shrine was burnt down in the 50s. St. Anne's Shrine was an amazing place. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you what the inside of St. Anne's Shrine looked like, because someone had a picture and they donated it to the museum. And you know, we have one of these Iberian Catholic churches here. Check that out. It's an art center now, but look, that was the other thing. Let's go ahead and start wars, so we have to take all of these old world bells, right? They took all these bells for the, supposedly for the ammunition for the War of Independence, right? But I don't think that that's exactly true. But I definitely believe that this church, this style of church with this dome top and this tower, because these were constructed very specific. The tower had to be placed on one particular side of the building, and other things. So this is all sacred geometry in this church, in their churches. Even these older Iberian churches that they've stuccoed over the top of. But you have this type of interior dome, and you see this on a lot of these old churches, but you also see them on some of the courthouses that are in Florida too, which I think is interesting. But they had symbolism on that church too. They had symbolism on that one. And our Baptist church is another one. Look at the top on that. You see that? That's interesting, huh? And the column. So you've got Greek. This is definitely Iberian inspired for sure. But I want to show you St. Anne's Shrine, because the inside of there were priceless relics that were inside St. Anne's Shrine that were destroyed. They were absolutely destroyed. It's absolutely a shame. Oh, here's the castle. We had a castle here too. See? Castle de Josefina. Yeah, there's some big fictitious story about that one too. But yeah, this old world. We have a couple castles here. We have we have one castle that was called Chalet Suzanne, and I think it was the Kraft family. They were involved in that one. And oh no, it was Duncan Hines. He also got his start doing his cakes and stuff at Chalet Suzanne restaurant. That was right on the water, and they even had a landing strip there, and a lot of the elites flew in on their airplanes and ate dinner there. It was open until probably, I don't know, about 10 years ago, and they closed it down. But they have a school there, and it's all private property, so you're not allowed to go there anymore. I've tried to go down there, and now look at this. This is something that I've loved for other people to start looking for. And these old clocks that are in the city, these right here, there's something behind these clocks that we need to look at. And they're everywhere. And a lot of times you'll see that these robber barons will donate these clocks to the town square. Like here, it was the same thing. The residents of Mountain Lake, which Mountain Lake is an exclusive neighborhood for the uber rich out here, and they're all the old families. The old families, like the robber baron families. And y'all know exactly who I'm talking about. They're all there. They all live there, and they have been there. Well, they donated the clock. Let's see, the clock, the tall clock tower. This is photographed in 1931. Okay, so it came as a gift to the city by Sister Sarah E. and Emma Y. Kolb. The sisters were winter residents of Mountain Lake Estates, 2 miles north of Lake Wells. E.R. Yana Industries made the brick by hand that serve as the core of the tower. The surface was covered with coquina rock. The four clock faces are porcelain, a handsome bronze plaque acknowledging the donors and the completion date. That's interesting. Yeah, there's more to that. We have a lot of old world buildings here. Here's our old high school. They burnt that up in the 50s too. Yeah, they blamed it on the KKK. So let's go ahead and not only come in and arson your city, but let's go ahead and turn the city against each other and make them think that somebody's doing something horrendous like that in racial motivation. Yeah, that's pretty sick. Look at, here's Chalet Suzanne. Here's the other castle. They're trying to say that they built that, right? Give me a break. Yeah. That's Lake Wales. We're floating right on the water. If that doesn't look Hindu, I don't know what to tell you. And then look at the front of the building right here. It's a pan building. Where have we seen those at? Yeah, exactly. We see those, all these old world places. But oh yeah, the inside of that place, the chalet, is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, here we go. Here's St. Anne's Shrine. Okay. Here's the wall in St. Anne's Shrine. Okay, look at it. I'm gonna move it slow so you can see it. Very ornate, huh? And then that was the outside, but that used to be a monastery. And nuns used to live there. Well, they burnt the whole thing down. And I think that there was also a castle there, and I think it's covered. And then they came back later and they went down to the Keys and got a bunch of coquina rock from these shell mounds, and they brought it, and then they made this little bridge there, which they didn't need a bridge there. There was no need for one. It's basically just a decoration to distract from the fact that there's something buried there. And there's only the top portion of this tower that's out of the ground. I mean, nobody would build a tower that short. It doesn't even make any sense. That's the top of a tower. It's probably the top of the tower that was on the castle that is buried. It's buried because we know Lake Wales got hit by a meteor, and I mean that might be why that lake's there. Who knows? Who knows? I know that they've had a lot of storms and stuff, so I mean it's possible that it could have gotten buried from a storm, and it's also possible that it was a cover-up. But I mean, it says on here Santa something Anna Ora Pro Nobis. And there's a sheep in the middle, and then there's a lot of depictions that kind of look like lilies, truthfully, but there's a castle over the top of this altar, which seems strange to me. And then there's a couple angels on each side. But I'm not sure what the relics were that got destroyed. I don't know. But there's a lot of stuff out there. But on that shrine, I did a quick shorts on that. But I want to tell you about this ashram, Atash Bethram Fire of Victory. And so it says that this fire, the establishment and consecration of the fire is the most elaborate of all the grades of fire. And so this is what they have to do. And now some people that are familiar with like Celtic traditions, you'll also see there's a lot of parallels here with this in their Brehon laws in Ireland. They have a ceremonial fire lighting where they have certain clans that will bring their fire up, and then they light one fire from it. And this is the same concept here. So, I mean, this could have been introduced by the Celts because the Celts are just that old, you know? And this could have started this Zoroastrianism for all we know. I mean, we weren't there, right? We're still learning. And then for you slick people that always want to come on people's channels and make some silly remarks, nobody asked you to come here. If you don't like the content, don't watch it. Don't watch it. And don't make silly, ridiculous remarks. We're trying to learn here. And we're trying to live the right way. So, I don't need people here somebody to be here critiquing me on the way that I speak or anything like that. I don't care what you think of me. I'm here for the universe. So, whatever. You know? I do the best that I can. My brain's not too bad considering that I've been as sick as I have. And in later times, I'll show you some pictures of what I looked like 2 years ago when I had pre-cancer, lump in my breast, And, you know, my brother's dying from cancer, and I was a sickly mess. And then I stopped eating meat. And it completely it's changed my health. And, you know, I know that I still have somewhere to go, but, you know, I was so extremely skinny and malnourished, it was really bad. It was really bad. I didn't realize how sick I looked. I mean, my hair didn't grow or anything. It was bad. My enzymes were shot. So they talk about, let me get back to this. And you know, I don't mean to get on a tangent, and I normally wouldn't even say anything because I don't care, but I think it's just a waste of time for people to take time out of their day to criticize people. It's just silly. I mean, it's so unaware of yourself. It just lacks self-awareness. It's really funny, but I just think it's stupid. Okay. So anyway, oh gosh. Okay, so they have to gather up 16 different types of fire, including fire by lightning, gathering up any branch of a tree ignited by a lightning strike, fire from a cremation pyre, fire from trades where a furnace is operated, like they're talking about blacksmiths and things like that. Fires from the hearth is also one that comes from the king, if I'm not mistaken. So each of the 16 fires has to go through a purification ritual, okay, before it goes into the other fire. So the priests have to do this purification and consecration ceremony that can take up to a year just to purify fire, okay? And so the reason that they say that they do this is they have to purify and consecrate it in order to return the flame, because when the flame is burning, right, the smoke goes up. So they want to make sure that it's pure so it can return to source. Okay? It says it's God's eternal pure symbol, and it's never to go out, and they call it the Ahura Mazda, which Ahura Mazda is God, El Elyon, and they have to purify this fire so it can go back to Ahura Mazda, or El Elyon. And they still have a couple of these fires. There's one that's been burning since like the year 700, but not many. There's only a few. And so they give a whole list of different types of fire that they collect from a corpse, from a dyer, from the king, a potter, brickmaker, an aesthetic, a goldsmith, a mint, an ironsmith, an armor, baker, brewer, soldier, shepherd. And they have to get lightning produced fire, and from the house of the Zoroastrian. And then they have a way that they purify it. So they have to do it 91 times. And they do this by, okay, they hold a ladle with sandalwood and frankincense shavings in it. And then 15 inches over the fire. Then when it catches on fire, they repeat this by igniting a fresh fire from the previous one that they just lit, okay? And so every time it dies out, that's one time. So then they have to do that 91 times, okay? So that in that case, after the 91st time, then that particular fire is consecrated. However, each type of fire, like the 16, each one of those different types of fire has to be consecrated a different way and a different number of times. So, for example, if you got the fire that you got from the dyer, the one that dyed the fabrics, that had to be purified 80 times. Fire from lightning, 90 times. From the king's palace, 70 times. So, I mean, it was just like a bunch of different times. From a warrior, 35 times. From a shepherd, 33 times. So that's interesting. So it's almost like your job, the fire that you had at your job, kind of shows your level of purity, maybe. I mean, they show that the shepherd only needs 33 times. 33. Get the number, right, folks? 33. Yes. So anyway, it's just very repetitious, and then it's all it talks about totaling up to days and times and months, and then consecrating the fire. They do these 16 purified and consecrated fires, which until the last day of the year. The Zoroastrian calendar has 12 months and 30 days each. The last 5 days are piously dedicated to the 5 gathas. They're kept separate and kept burning with sandalwood and frankincense. And then on the first day of Gatha, which is kind of like, you know, how you have the menorah, right? In the 8 days of keeping the fire burning. It's kind of the same concept. And they say that the Zoroastrianism did feed into the Hebrew religion. So then, for the first day is, on the first Gatha day, the final ceremony combining the 16 fires and consecration of this begins with the recitation of the dawn part of the Ushayan Get. And so they start this ritual kind of like when they're doing around the Mecca square. I mean, it's kind of like a lot of different things have bled out from this into other ones. Like they keep going around in a circle, like they're opening a portal almost, right? They're opening a portal because they're going round and round and round. They're creating an energy vortex. So, I mean, I think that you've got same concepts here in all of these different things. And so then it's kept in the consecrated room in a temple, this fire. But see, you had these fires in these temples. And you had them in Jerusalem, right? And then you find out that they were putting burnt offerings on these altars. They weren't supposed to do that. They were destroying the consecration of the holy fire. I mean, I can understand what they were getting at, why they were talking about these sacrifices. Of course, there's only 2 temples left that have these fires, and the rest of them are, obviously, you know what happened. There's no sense to say what we already know. At this point, we know the same story over and over again. So St. Anne's Shrine, I'm going to say that these Iranian Catholic people, that was their monastery in Florida, was at St. Anne's Shrine. And, you know, Anne was Mary's mother, right? So that's a couple generations before Jesus' time. So that would have been, Michael was here 1947 years before Jesus, which was 4,000 years ago. Jesus was 2,000 years ago. So, and this is for grandma to Jesus, is what they say this shrine at St. Anne is dedicated to. And you know, it could be, because in the Urantia books it talks about Jesus being here to do this work for, you know, this work of God, and Archangel Michael is very much involved in it. So, you know, he's the archangel. He's one of the archangels, and he's here to try to help us figure all this out, to know that we're physical beings having a spiritual experience on earth. So, what do you think? Do you think that these churches and these old world Catholic buildings and things that are missing all their bells and whatnot and all that, that maybe these places were actually, maybe these places actually had the eternal flame burning in there, and it wasn't really bells? But then again, maybe it was both. Who knows? Who knows? I guess we should start looking. We need to start looking. So what do you think? Do you think that we had the wrong kind of Catholics in America? And they just had to be buttoned up? What do you think? I'd love to hear what you have to say. I mean, that's my first little bit of proof, because I certainly think that this looks like an eternal fire. So when you come looking for me, I'll be here, because we're living the past, present, and the future all at the same time. So don't forget to go outside and have a wonderful day today. And thanks for stopping on Sacred Enzyme. Bye-bye.